Hey guys, welcome to Reza Riffs. Subscribe, rate, and review to the show. Upcoming shows, uh, December 18th at the Rec Room with Ida Rodriguez. That's the only show I have the rest of the year. By the time this comes out, my Bray Improv shows with Jay Moore will probably be done. But I'll plug those just in case. Thanksgiving weekend, Bray Improv with Jay Moore. You can also get tickets at breaimprov.com or jmore.com or keithreza.com. Alan Lee will not be here today. As you rifters know, he's a hit or miss lately. But I am here with the great Julia Sweeney. You've seen her from Saturday Night Live. Most known for It's Pat, her character on Saturday Night Live. She's also on the Showtime show Work in Progress. And I'm going to riff with her. It's going to be fun. Subscribe, rate, and review. And tell a friend.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Hey, Julia.
Hello.
How are you?
It's good. Hi, nice to meet you this way.
I know. 3 years in the making. This is awesome.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. How are you?
I go up and back about doing things and it's sort of haphazard.
Yeah, I understand. But thank you so much for doing it. It means a lot to me. I watched you on SNL and I always find you hilarious, and thank you. So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
it helps a young, struggling comic like me out.
Okay, good.
So with this whole, I remember like I was going to interview you 3 years ago, but I had to cancel because I had this big audition, and we just never could find the right date.
And did you get the part?
That's what I was going to tell you. I didn't get the part, so I kind of wish I could go back in time and just do the interview instead, because I hate auditioning, you know.
I used to like it. I don't like it now because I just don't want to be an actress in any way.
Yeah.
But
what were some good auditioning tips for you? Because you did the Groundlings.
Yeah, I mean, where do you live?
I live in Huntington Beach, Orange County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess doing Groundlings classes did help. I mean, it really did help. I mean, I just got used to being okay on stage or being observed, I guess. That helps. And I don't know if I'm that good of an actress, though. I feel like I mean, I've had good audition experiences. I mostly have tips from the other side where I've auditioned people. And one thing I've noticed is that when I told people certain things about the character and then they just ignore it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's great. Like, I've cast people like in a play that I wrote and in this pilot I was in when they absolutely just ignored the directions and did what they wanted. And then what they did was so interesting that it was good. And then I thought, wow, even the people who are casting don't know that much what they want, I think.
Do you think like that's something that comedic people can do? Because I've actually been told the exact same like advice, like when you audition. I don't know if you know this, but I used to tour with Norm Macdonald for 7 years. Yeah. And so like he was like my best friend. So like whenever I have like auditions and stuff, he used to say, "Oh, just don't bother acting because there's a good chance you won't get it anyway." And those are the ones that I usually got it. You know what I mean?
Hold on, I have to hide my self view because I if I'm on camera, I look at myself, which is weird. Okay.
Oh, by the way, I don't promote the video.
Oh, okay. No, that's okay. Do
Yeah.
whatever you want with it. But I'm just saying, for me, I become distracted by myself.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Norm.
I saw your tweet, and I wanted you to know that he loved you very much, because when I was
know
gonna,
that meant a lot to me. That's what made me do it. Even
Yeah.
though I'm not doing interviews really, but yeah, well, it was happened right away when he got on the show, and we only overlapped by a few months.
Yeah.
And so he was young and new, and I was jaded and had one foot out the door. So we both kind of we're in a weird place, to be maybe not at our best, but he had come up and yelled at me about a sketch that he wrote, and it was in, but then it got traded out for a sketch of mine or something, which happens all the time, and
Right.
he would certainly learn that, but at that moment he didn't. And I was in the makeup chair, and he came and started yelling at me about it, which wasn't even my responsibility I was not in charge of that.
Right.
And then and I think I was saying that, and I was kind of shocked because he, I felt like I was a senior statesman, like I'd been there 4 years, and he just had arrived on the scene, and he was yelling at me about something I had nothing to do with. And then he started saying how unfunny I was not funny, blah, blah, blah. And that was really rude. And it was in the makeup trailer with a bunch of people anyway, which I don't really care, but it didn't get us off on the best foot.
Yeah.
And but then as I said, and then when I left SNL, I didn't watch the show at all. Like I was so sick of anything sketch related. I really didn't watch it for years. So I missed his genius. Like I didn't know. I would hear about him. I mean, I wasn't in an igloo, but
Right.
But I didn't, because we'd had that weird thing. But Lori Joe, I was in contact with,
Oh, Lojo. I love Lojo.
Yeah. And I suspect it was her that made him, come around maybe, or rethink it. Or maybe he didn't, maybe he rethought it 1 week later. I have no idea. I don't know. But I just know that it wasn't for years later that I see the sketches of him and realize what a real comic genius he was. I mean, really, just so good. And like going to the reunions, I realized that he was so good. Like, I'm so out of it. I'm like somebody's old aunt who's like, what's up with the kids now? And so then I was like, oh, he really is good. And I actually didn't hold it against him. I feel even bad saying it. But then the only reason I put that tweet out there is because I thought it was so big of him to come to me and say, I think I said something to you that was mean, when we first met, and I'm so sorry, and I think you're great. And it was just not that many people do that, that showed such wonderful character, and it just made me love him, and so, but then some people got mad at me for tweeting that. I really meant it positively. Like,
I took it positively.
Like everyone has a bad moment, and what I was trying to show is that he reflected on it and made an apology that was genuine and sincere and accepted on both sides. So it's like, that's not a common thing to happen. And he did that. So I was trying to be positive about it, but some people were like, not the time and place and stuff like that. And anyway, ugh.
I remember when I told him I was going to interview you like 3 years ago, and he's like, oh my God, that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to listen to it. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I only did one movie, and she played my mom.
Oh, what?
Yeah. He said that you played his mom on Dirty Work or something.
Oh, I've done so many of those little parts.
And I watched it, and I didn't see you, so I don't know if he was screwing with me, but
I'm pretty sure I'm not in that. Although I've been cast as the mom so often, and it's like But yeah, he's probably mixing me up with someone, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I just thought it was funny because he said nothing but good things about you. So I just
Oh,
wanted you
okay,
to know.
that's good. Maybe he actually totally thought of me as someone else, but yeah. But oh,
So,
you must miss him so much.
yeah, it was
Did you know, like, was he getting sicker and sicker around you, or?
well, I found out he had cancer in December, and there was only a handful of people who knew, and he kind of made me say like I can't tell anyone or whatever, but he also told me that it was a different type of cancer from what came out that he had. So I don't know, like I feel kind of like privileged that I knew, but also kind of hurt because it wasn't what he told me. You know what I mean?
But maybe he told you the truth.
No, yeah, he told me he had colon cancer, and
And
when he
maybe
died,
he
it
just
said,
didn't want.
yeah,
What did I don't even know. I just knew he
it
had
was
cancer.
it was
What did they say it was?
it was leukemia cancer. So
Oh.
I don't
You know,
know.
if you have like something like colon cancer, I think it can get into the lymph system and become a lymphoma. Like I don't, like a lot of times in late stage cancers, there's overlapping cancers, but
Yeah,
usually you name your cancer after the first one you have. So it would be colon, but he probably just thought people would make jokes about it.
yeah. I just know nothing about cancer, and it sucks because I was born in July. It's a birthday joke.
Okay, that was a good one. It took me a moment.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so good to hear you laugh. Hey, I was watching It's Pat the other day with my mom, and I don't know if I don't know if you know this, but Charles Rocket, like someone asks him what time is it, and he says, "Oh, it's like 7:07," and then he rushes to like see Pat, like going to the bathroom or whatever, and there's a clock, and it said 7:07 on
So
the
that's
clock.
impossible.
Yeah, I'm very observant. I don't.
You're an observant comedian.
Yeah.
Uh yeah. Wow. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know, but like one of those trivia's
Maybe
for
Pat's clock is behind.
yeah, like by a minute. Well, it also
Yeah.
probably or Mr. Rocket's watch was fast. I don't know, but
Yeah, that could be.
yeah. But no, I thought that was very funny, and I heard in an interview you said that you were kind of not proud with it because it bombed. Like what
Well,
was?
no, I don't care about the bombing part because,
Uh-huh.
as success, popular success is not correlated with quality.
Right.
I mean, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. So that part, no, it's because we had to cut it so much. First of all, I think I don't think we got the script right. We didn't have the right director. And we needed to, I just feel like the script wasn't ready to be shot. And even though I'm proud of it too, like I'm proud that we did it. I had fun doing it.
Yeah.
But and I love the memories of it. And I love when I see it, I don't even think it's that bad. I don't think it's as bad as some other movies that aren't considered as bad as
I don't think it's bad at all. It's very funny. It has
but
a lot of good jokes.
I wish I don't know, it just needed better writing and better directing, in my opinion. And
Well,
and I take my own, I'm not trying to blame others. I was the writer. I just feel like I wasn't up to the task of it. Um and then I was involved in this big, because it was Katzenberg was taking over from Eisner at Disney, and there was a lot of political stuff happening with people getting suddenly supervising the movie that didn't want the movie to be made.
yeah.
And in the end, we had to cut it down to 75 minutes. And it just feels like a botched attempt at something that could have been great and just wasn't. And I feel I'm responsible for that. I wasn't smart enough to be in control of it in a way that would make it good. And I'm not saying I could now. I'm just saying that that's the part I regret about it.
Well, I look at it this way, where like one, you have a movie, which a lot of people don't have,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
And two, regardless of what was like filming it and who directed and who wrote it and stuff, it made because like I don't know how to say this, but like I love comedy, so I watch a lot of comedy, and it really made me happy.
Oh,
So
good.
so I feel like, of course, I'm nothing special, but I'm one
Yes,
person.
you are.
You know
That's
what I mean?
okay. But
So
everyone's special.
yeah,
The
that's what my
universe's
mom
eyes. I
says
mean,
too.
or they aren't, or no
Yeah.
one's special.
But I guess I'm trying to say thank you for making it, because it really did make me laugh.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, and then I do have a question about working with Charles Rocket, because
Okay.
I find him to be hilarious, and a lot of
Yeah.
people don't know who he is
Yeah.
or who he was. And I wanted to, because I'm sure you get questions a lot like, what's it like working with a Phil Hartman or Chris Farley? And I'm asking about Charles Rocket.
Well, I didn't really watch him that much when he was on SNL. And when he was only there for a short time, but
A lot of people didn't even know he was on it. He was
yeah.
the weekend
So,
update.
but I don't know how I met him. God, I knew him just as around the comedy scene, and I just loved him immediately. He was just, I loved his way of looking at you, his engagement, his voice, his body. Like, he was just so charismatic, like just, and such a lover of people, and such a caring person. And also he just made me laugh every time he did anything. It just made me laugh. He was so funny. And so I wrote that part for him, and I was so glad he did it. And we laughed so hard. There was so many times we couldn't get the shot, and the crew was pissed off at us because I kept breaking.
Yeah.
Because he was so funny. And that only really happened with Fred Willard. It happened with Adam Sandler a little bit, but it happened with Fred Willard where the crew would get mad, because I don't have a lot of self-control over my laughing when I'm in a scene with somebody I think is so funny.
Right.
Like I guess I can't stay in character. I'm not a good enough actress to just stay in character and not just be entertained by the genius of whoever I'm with. Like, they're just and so Charlie Rocket was so fun in the scene where we dance together. Like, we're kind of like he's trying to dance and I'm sitting down. That was so funny to me. And I watch it and I think it's okay, but it's like, that was so funny when we were doing it. I couldn't not laugh as Julia Sweeney, and it was wrecking it. And it went on for hours, and it was really painful, but that's just to show you how great he was. And he was just such a love on the show. And I always love seeing him. And the last time I saw him was at a Kathy Griffin Christmas party. Yeah. And I didn't even know he was there because the party was so filled with people. And I went down to get my car, and it was valet, and he was getting his car. And that's the first time I saw him. And then we were so happy to see each other. And I remember he had this long raincoat on. He was so dramatic, tall, with his long raincoat and his deep voice. And he kind of enveloped me. And then I just always think that's the last time I saw him. Anyway, it was so sad. And I didn't really know much about his personal struggles, and it was just so violent what he did to himself. I mean, it's hard. It's weird, because when somebody does something like that, like slice their neck apart to themselves, and you love that person, you're mad at that person, and you love that person. Like, you're
Yeah.
so mad. I was so angry at him. It wasn't just that he killed himself, because I think if you want to kill yourself, I believe in the right to people to kill themselves. I don't think it's morally wrong or anything like that. I think life is such a wonderful thing, but I can totally understand how it could be intolerable for some people. Like, I'm not a, like, everyone should just live forever as long as they can. I don't feel that way at all.
Right.
And I don't even exclude that to older people. Like, I feel if somebody's young and their life is intolerable, and they can't find a way to make it tolerable, or they're afflicted by things that they can't control. Or I always think, if you did something that was so, like, if you killed your kid accidentally, if you, like, all those, like, I don't know how you'd live, like, I guess what I'm saying is, I think there's lots of legitimate reasons to kill yourself. I'm
Right.
not even against it. But to that's a kind of act of hostility towards oneself,
Yeah.
to slit your throat, that is so mean to himself and
Yeah.
to us, to have to imagine him having done that I just love him, and I don't want him to have done that. I want him to have done a kinder way to himself of killing himself.
Yeah.
And and of course I wish he didn't kill himself, because
Right.
I wanted to enjoy knowing him for more years. But I guess that's a complicated answer. But I feel so upset at him for doing it like that.
Yeah.
Like, anyway.
I thought it was funny when you're like, oh, accidentally killed your kid. Like, what's the worst way you could accidentally kill your kid?
If you backed up over them.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, maybe you're playing baseball, like Thanksgiving baseball, and you hit a strike, right? And the ball just hits the kid and they fall, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh.
Okay. Yeah. Like, okay, take that one. Like, I think life is filled with unpredictability and accidents. And I always think, if I did something to myself, I could live with it. But if I did something to someone I loved, I don't know how I just don't know how I go on. I just think, I just don't know how I go on. I guess that's what I'm saying, is I feel like, yeah, I can see how there are things where it's not worth it to go on, like, and anyway, so I
You
guess.
wouldn't want to play baseball again. That's the point.
Oh God.
I wanted to ask you, like, because I actually did take a class at the Groundlings,
Oh,
but
you did?
I did, but I I didn't like it, only because I realized I was a stand-up and not a sketch
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And I feel, no disrespect to the Groundlings, but I feel like, it was always my dream to get on SNL, and obviously now I'm too old, but I feel it's now stand-up comedy. Like, it's a harder time for stand-ups to get on the show. You know what I mean?
Well, I have a bias towards improv people because they're collaborators, which doesn't mean that stand-ups can't be collaborators. It's just that they're coming from a very different skill set. I mean, to me, what they do on SNL is closer to what the Groundlings does than it is to what stand-up does.
Yeah.
It's just that stand-up can create these mega stars, and people really, whatever their particular personality comes out, like, as a stand-up, they have honed it. So they're very, like, the improv people are more chameleons, and the stand-up people are more, I'm me, I'm going to be me in every scene. And if you know that I'm funny, you, like, think of Bill Murray, although he came from improv too, but I'm just using Bill Murray as an example of somebody that, once you understand his point of view, his comedic point of view, he doesn't have to do anything anymore. He just can be in a scene and you're laughing with him at what's happening in that scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And stand-ups do that because they have a big personality that you can then identify with. And, watch them be in scenes that you can be like them, like it's just more personality driven than character driven.
Right.
So I think that it's good that they have a mix. And like for me, I had only really been around improv people. I took one stand-up class and I did terribly and I was not good. And so, but then I realized the groundlings, I could do that. I could play characters.
Yeah.
But then after I left SNL, and then I got to spend a lot of time around stand-ups. So like Dana and, there's all kinds of people who were stand-ups there, even like Kevin Nealon. And I really saw what they did and I could see that I could do something, they kind of inspired me to do stand-up. and then I had been doing like one person shows that were comedic. So they were kind of, actually they do get laughs like a stand-up gets, like there are laughs, but they usually had a story arc that put them in a different framework. But because I was around them, I felt like I can try to do that. And then I did do it and I could do it. And it is fun. So I love both. I think that what Lauren's doing is right, having both, but it is true that maybe right now there's more improv people than stand-up people.
Now, I wanted to ask you about your one-woman shows, because the humor or the subjects that you tackled, religion, which when you did it, it was probably very taboo, but now it's like seems to be more acceptable. And also like with Pat, what I mean? Like now it seems like back then it was acceptable, now it's considered taboo. Like how did you overcome that?
Well, with the religion, George Carlin talked about being an atheist. There's people who talked about religion, but what I did that was different with it, I think, that made it popular and not popular, and it was that I really took religion seriously. It wasn't just making fun of religion. It was kind of grappling with my real experience, which was that religion had really been a hugely positive thing in my life.
Yeah.
And it had organized my understanding of the world, and it had helped make me a good person, maybe you could even say. But then I looked into it and realized that it was really a house of cards. Like it was kind of based on nothing, and that the critical thinker inside me had to reject it. I couldn't use that drug anymore, to make myself feel better.
Right.
And that to me was profound, but also funny, because there were to me, it had the classic setup of a funny situation, somebody who keeps trying to believe, but then can't, because they learn something more that makes them unable to believe. So people, I would say, with letting go of God, which I think is probably the best thing I've done, the people who love it. Like I would say it's had the biggest impact on people of anything I've done, even Pat, because Pat is sort of like not that deep and sort of just one joke, but this was much deeper. Like I know that my show actually did convince a lot of people to question their faith, and even some to become atheists. And also people used that show to show their parents, who, if they were religious, like, here's how you can understand, like why I'm not religious. And I felt really proud of that. But then in another way, it was limited, because what I've come to realize, which I didn't know then, was that people don't want to think deeply about it. They want to just reject it and get a joke, a laugh, or they want to take it seriously and not look into it. And I was going much deeper than anyone wanted me to do, except for a small group of people. And I am proud that I did it for that small group of people, but it wasn't ever going to be able to be a big thing. Right. Although now who knows, because I'm such a terrible procrastinator, but I am still planning to write the book of letting go of God, because now my feelings have evolved so much. It's almost 20 years since I did that show. And well, I don't believe in God. I never even came close to believing in God again. But I have such a deeper understanding of religion now than I did, like, and I would like to write about that if I can get myself to do it.
Oh, that would be awesome. I'm trying to write a book, but like, see, I'm not a big enough celebrity. I don't think I could sell it, but I have a great title. It would be called "How to Annoy Yourself to the Top."
That's good.
Right? And then I'll have chapter 1. I got Julia Sweeney to say yes.
Aw.
But no, like, I think, like, see, like, religion, I think, like, because there's 10,000s of religions out there, you know what I mean? And people only think that there's only like 5 or 6. And I think that's why there's humor in religion, that people, because there's 10,000s of different beliefs that people don't know, you can make 10,000s of jokes.
Okay.
So I'm just saying I'm Keithism. So, but I wanted to ask you about you were a consecutive producer on Desperate Housewives.
Oh yeah.
So like, well, what was that about? Like, how did
I
that
was only
happen?
there for 1 year. I mean, I actually loved everyone who I worked with there. Who I really just worked with the writers, not the actors. But I went on that show thinking that it was a send up of those kinds of shows, like a
Right.
parody, and then it was one of those shows. So I couldn't stay. I mean, I just couldn't stay. It was like, and really, it was like being in a relationship with somebody that you think is something, and then a few months later, you realize, like, you meet them and you make jokes about, like, say they're a big muscle man,
Right.
like, and you just, or maybe, but when you meet, you make jokes about how stupid it is to be a muscle man, even though they are a muscle man. But it's so great because they see how stupid it is, and then you go out, and a few months later, you realize, oh no, they love being a muscle man and they think it's great. And they only were making jokes about being a muscle man to get you to think that it was kind of had more complexity than it actually has. And I was really dismayed by it. I couldn't really watch the show. It wasn't, even though Mark Cherry, who created it, I really like him. I had good experiences with everyone there. But
Yeah.
This is my feeling in general. I can do acting parts that are not good, like they don't have to be that well written. I don't like to do things that are humiliating. So I always turn that down, but which, by the way, is a lot, because they're always like, come on. And then all the jokes are about how you think you're sexy, but we all know you're not, like that.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
a typical part that an older comedian woman would get. I definitely turn that down. But writing stuff like that is like your soul. Like, to me, writing is like, I can do bad parts as an actor. There's something about my face being associated with it, or actually physically doing it, that doesn't bother me that much. But if somebody asked me to write an episode that includes women wrestling in mud at this thing just because the network wants to have scantily clad women wrestling in mud,
You could do it like that.
no, I can't do it.
Oh,
I
you
actually
can't?
feel a huge, I mean, I could as an actor,
Yeah.
but I couldn't write it because it's just, anyway, that's a big failing of mine. Probably I'm trying to make it, the way I'm saying, I'm hearing myself and I sound so like I'm so morally together, but it's really not that. It's like I don't know how to do it. Like, anyway, so I had to leave. I couldn't do it.
That's a
Even
good
though
answer.
they paid me a lot and they were so nice about me, because I had a little kid and I could go home when I wanted, but I was really miserable.
Yeah.
I just didn't, I have to kind of like the show I'm working on.
And now you're on the show Work in Progress. How did that come apart? Because in a way, you're playing yourself.
I know I am, even though it's so not really me, but which is good and bad. Anyway, well, I was working on the show Julia Sweeney, Older and Wider, which I am still working on.
Yeah.
So it'll be 6 years of working on it till I film it. And I was doing it at Second City in Chicago. And I just had a little 50-seat theater they let me have on Sunday nights. And I just was workshopping it. And Abby, who's now the star of Work in Progress, came up to me and said, I'm doing a one-person show too, but there's a part in my show where I talk about how I hate you. And I said, oh God, that's so funny. Why? And she says, because I looked like Pat and people thought I looked like Pat. And that was so traumatic. And she said, and I'm also writing this thing. And I would you be in it? And I said, of course. I just loved her. She's so funny. And so we shot this pilot with another Second City guy shooting it. And it was going to be just webisodes.
Yeah.
Then it was so good. And they cut it together. And so like when I shot the first episode, what became the pilot, I didn't know that it was a pilot. I thought it was just a webisode of something.
Like a 7-minute skit.
Yeah. And so, but then when I saw what Tim, the guy who directed it, put together, it was so good. And then I really championed it. And they got into Sundance, and I went to Sundance and kind of pounded the pavement and tried to get as many people interested in it as I could. But by then, actually, Lily Wachowski was involved. And so there was bigger people than me were taking it to where it was going to go. But it ended up getting picked up by Showtime. And now we've done a couple seasons, but the character is so not me, but like the character is trying so hard to please everyone. And that is funny because that is an aspect to my personality, but I don't feel as bad about having made Abby feel bad about how she looks because of Pat as they make it seem in the show.
Right.
Like, I just feel like get over it, I mean, I like Abby. I don't want to hurt people, but I don't regret doing an artistic thing because it hurt somebody's feelings. I mean, like,
right.
In fact, I wish I'd hurt more people's feelings.
Now, but don't you think that's kind of cool? Because for example, in the 80s and the 90s, no one ever knew what a web series was. And the fact that today a web series can become a TV show or even a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
It is cool. It is cool.
Yeah. And then my mom wanted me to ask you about Vegas Vacation.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, my friend Steve Kessler directed that, and I just worked one day.
Yeah. That's my mom's favorite movie is Vegas Vacation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know what? I watched it recently. When I say recently, I mean the last 6 years. I was surprised to see myself. I thought I didn't remember myself looking like that or playing that character. Like I don't know what I thought I did, but anyway. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun to be in Vegas and have Steve Wynn came by and said hello. And
who's the guy and who's like Mr. He's still big in Vegas. Wayne, what's his name?
I can't remember the names. I just know Steve Wynn, Winn, because he owned the hotel that we were shooting in.
Wayne Newton, that's who I'm thinking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Vegas. Oh man. So, and then I wanted to ask you about Clock Stoppers, because that that came out when I was 13 or 14, and I thought that was the coolest movie ever.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I've only seen it once, and I remember my part, but I don't, I don't, I hate seeing myself so much that I usually don't watch anything I'm in.
Does it make you uncomfortable, like when you're
Yeah.
watching reruns of SNL or something? Or
Unless it's so long ago, it just really seems like a different person. I mean,
yeah,
now SNL is so long ago, that's like not even me. But if it's anything recent, like in the last 15 years, I don't like to see it. But
yeah.
that's longer than that. So I guess if it happened to come on, I would watch it.
Now, just two more SNL questions.
Uh-huh.
Who is your favorite SNL writer?
Oh. Oh, wow. That's a really good question.
All right.
Um,
Fred Wolf is probably like wishing it's him.
are you in contact with him?
Yeah, I love
Oh,
Fred.
wow.
He did Raise a Risk. He did this.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah,
He's a lovely guy. I
yeah.
would say Jim Downey, even though he's conservative in ways that I'm not, but I would say Jim Downey.
Jim Downey. All
Yeah.
right. And then last SNL question. Who was the toughest host to work with?
Well, Steven Seagal is who I always say, but that's almost doesn't count because he was a joke. I mean, he's like a sociopath. Like he's like
Is
a
he?
cartoon. Well, it's like Trump. I mean, like he's like
Was
he's
this
not
when
a
he had the
person
ponytail?
connected to reality in any way. I mean, like it's almost like he just should be institutionalized.
Right.
Like so I hate to say he was so terrible because it's almost like he was so terrible that you can't even be mad at him like he's got a disorder or something. Of course I would have thought that about Trump also.
Right.
Let me see. But besides him,
Did
well,
Trump
there
ever
was
host
Carrie
SNL?
Kerrigan, the skater.
Oh, okay.
Nancy Kerrigan.
Yeah.
She was hard because she wasn't a comedian and she wasn't an actor or a comedian. You got a lot of actors who weren't funny. You could do stuff and they'd act in it.
Right.
But she wasn't an actor or funny, or I felt bad for her. It seemed like a stupid host choice to me.
So when she was on the show, did you say this is going to be the longest Saturday night ever?
Yeah. Everyone kind of just thought, let's just get through it. I mean, that's when a lot of old sketches that never made it come up because someone like her isn't going to be in every sketch, like bigger people who are big comedians, they're going to be in like lots and lots of sketches and she didn't expect that. So in that sense, it was okay. But yeah, that was hard. I guess that's not a fun answer.
I think that's a great answer. Now, my last question for you is you took a break from the biz for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then you did a TED Talk.
Oh, yeah. Is it the sex one?
Yeah. Now, did you know TED Talks were as huge as they are? Or like what made...
No, and that became such a viral thing. I mean, that was like everywhere. And actually, I was thinking about that because I don't know if I should tell, because I'm going to shoot my comedy special in Spokane in March. Older and wider, but I used to have like a huge 20 minutes of it was about Trump and my daughter dating a Trump supporter, and I'm taking all that out. It's just too dated now. And I was wondering if I should do that in the show because I've never put it in a show, but maybe I don't need to because it was on TED and more people saw it there. Right. But anyway, yeah, that all really happened. It all really happened.
And you're on Twitter now. You're I was one of the first people to follow you, and now you got like 1,000 more. You have 15,000 followers.
No, I think I have 12,000, something like that.
Really? Oh.
But I
who got you hooked on Twitter?
Well, I was on Twitter and I had like 9,000 followers, and then I left. But then I started performing again and I felt like I should be on it. And so I did and am. I look at it a few times a day. I definitely look at it a few times a day. I'm not hooked on social media. Like I don't have that problem. So that's not a problem. But I got kind of weirdly, I don't want to say obsessed, but I follow these traditional Catholics that are real lunatics.
Those are the
and
best people to follow, lunatics.
and they're such misogynists, and they don't. Oh God, they're so awful. They're awful even amongst the Catholics, like, and I'm trying to wean myself off of looking at what they have to say every day. They're just not worth it. They don't even have as many followers as me. Like, it's a little punching down, because I feel like I'm harassing them. They say the dumbest things. It never turns out good. And I'm not helping anything. So part of me feels like Twitter.
I think that's like part of the fun of Twitter though, because like for example, take Trump for example, when he had Twitter, I thought it was awesome because just of the stuff he would tweet. Like it was
I know. It's just that he had I know, but it wasn't funny to me. If he'd just been a dorky celebrity who was had some company, and if he was just Trump of Trump University and he posted bullshit things all the time, it would be entertaining to me. But because he was president, it was deeply disturbing, and it was so upsetting to me that that was very traumatic, and I'm still traumatized by what's happened even after and what's happening to our country. But I couldn't be entertained by him. I kept thinking if I knew it was all going to be okay in the end, I could laugh at this. But because I don't have confidence that that's true, I can't laugh at it. I just can't.
Well, Julia Sweeney, is there any chance you'll be president someday?
No.
No? All right. No. Well, where can the folks at home follow and support you?
I guess on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook. I'm redoing my website to but because I have to put in my new show. I'm going to start doing some workshop shows in January at 5:00 at the Groundlings on Saturdays in their small theater, where I'm going to rework my show to come up with a replacement for the Trump stuff that I used to have in it. And then I'm going to film it in March. So that's the only public thing I have. So I guess my website, juliasweeney.com, or Twitter is really best. Like if somebody really needs to get a message to me, Twitter is probably the best way to do it, actually. Oh, I do check it a few times a day. My website, I only look at once every 3 months or I have to be better about that.
Well, Julia, thank you so much for taking time of your day. I'm glad we could finally do it.
Yes.
It truly meant a lot to me, and it was nice to making you laugh.
Oh, you're so sweet.
All right.
All right. Have a good night.
Have a great day, Julia. All right, guys. That was the interview with Julia Sweeney. Subscribe, rate, and review, and we'll see you next week.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.